Either way, all right, we good?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Well, I appreciate everybody sticking around. We had a little bit of a technical switcheroo this morning, so I hope everybody can see and or hear me. So those of you who are in the chat today, let me know if you're here. Let me know if you've got anything. Let me know if you can see and or hear what's going on. So big things happening in the world of Carolina sports. Shaq, we've had a ton of things going on to where a lot of dudes are leaving the basketball program. We've had 4 guys leave, and you've transitioned to fan now. So I got to find out, what's it like now as a fan seeing guys depart the program? Again, you've played at Division I sports, so you know what it's like, and wanting to have the best playing environment for yourself. But tell me how you feel about seeing guys leave your university.
Yeah, I think as a fan, like you're saying, I see guys leaving. I get devastated, because every single one of them is a good player, and so I think I see it. And to me, that means it's a tough thing to replace, a tough person to replace for next year. So I get bummed out because of that. But at the same time, I can understand that, these guys have put their entire lives into like this moment, building up to there, trying to go compete, go win a national championship. So whether it's they don't see that opportunity here or they don't think they're getting the playing time they want or something, I can understand why they feel that way. But it still hurts. It still hurts.
So I want to go on a bit of a rant, if you'll permit me, sir.
Absolutely.
I have seen via social media this week, a lot of folks kind of just freaking out a little bit because they're seeing guys leave. And I get that. I get that, we're not so used to seeing players depart. And usually, if you think about 10, 15 years ago, when a guy left school, it must mean that something's wrong, right? It must mean there's issues in the program, whatever. And now I think just seeing so much WTF on social media this week, it's a bit of a head scratcher because you're on social media. You hear what the fan base says. Was the fan base not wanting to get rid of all these guys at some point during the year?
Yeah. It seemed like they were begging for more.
Yeah.
It seemed like the fan base wanted everyone gone. And now,
everybody gone.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's confusing at times. I think, and what was weird is that obviously last season turned out differently than this season. It felt like at one point we were seeing the same thing last season. So I was kind of chuckling why, not so much laughing as we got later in the season, but early in the season I was laughing. I was like, they're going to turn around again. Whatever. Like, we'll get it figured out. But no, it is kind of wild watching how the tides go.
It's mind numbing. So you hear all these people say, we need to nuke the program or run everybody to the locker room or turn everything over or whatever. And then all of a sudden guys start leaving because they have the ability now to transfer without penalty.
Yep.
They can go to a better situation for them. And honestly, a little bit of it is the coaching staff, I think, are doing some of the self-assessment that everybody begged for.
Yeah.
Again, this isn't me caping up for Hubert Davis. I think they left a lot to be desired this season. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and look, everybody wants to, well, why doesn't he get better players? I do understand the sentiment of wanting to see the guys who are on the bench develop. That's valid. But you can't say, I want all these guys gone and get me some good players in here. And then when guys actually leave to better their own predicament, say, why is everybody leaving? Both of those things cannot coexist, my man.
Yeah. I got down a rabbit hole at one point, trying to figure out if some of these people are even real people. Are these bots? Is this a joke? What's going on?
Russian bots all of a sudden care about Carolina basketball. It's so in that vein, you've got Puff Johnson, which I think was a shock. But again, Puff Johnson had health issues. He was constantly out due to his health and not being healthy enough to play, and I think that mattered. You have Justin McCoy, who I get that it just didn't click when he got here, and I think you have Tyler Nickel, who that's also a head scratcher because again had a shooter's mentality, had a rep as an absolute scorer. Probably didn't get the crack that he thought he was going to get, is leaving for more playing time, so you can't fault that. And then Dontrez Styles, who I think folks saw the writing on the wall with that very early when he wasn't playing earlier in the year. Those guys are leaving, and at least as far as I've been able to tell, And from the people I've talked to, there's not bad feelings around any of those. I think it's what's the old term? Business decision.
Yeah. This
I think a lot of these were business decisions. And so why don't we talk about some good news? As of yesterday, it was announced that R.J. Davis will be returning. So, Shaq, we've got R.J. Davis, Armando Bacot, who was runner-up player of the year in the conference last year, was third in the voting, first team all-conference, was preseason player of the year this year, holds almost every rebounding record in North Carolina history, double-double record, and will probably be one of the ACC's top rebounders by the time he's gone.
He's 300 off Tim Duncan for, I think, most ever in the ACC.
Seems like a lot.
Seems like a lot, but
I'm not a stats guy, but it seems like a lot.
How many do you have this year?
he was close to 300 this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a stretch next year. But again, if
Because I mean, he averaged 10 a game, and they play in the neighborhood of 30 games in the season. So yeah, he was around 300.
So if he's averaging his normal clip, he's going to sniff it. I think the big thing is also you're going to have Jalen Washington back to, again, hopefully he's healthy and we'll have a chance to probably look at a starter's role. But all of this together, Shaq, you're finally seeing guys leave that weren't playing, and now Hubert Davis and his staff have a chance to bring in some guys that are going to automatically get starters minutes. Now, you can say what you want to about Bacot and RJ Davis. You may not like them. You may think that there needs to be a page turn with those guys. But I'm telling you right now, you can count on one hand the number of guys that will be in the transfer portal that will give you the numbers that those guys will.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you look at a lot of these, the teams that are playing deep in March Madness year after year, like, it's rare that they're all young. Like, it seems like there's a lot of leadership on those teams, some older guys.
Old dudes.
Yeah. So you want to have that on your roster.
So how much more March Madness have you watched this year?
Not enough. That's my plan for this afternoon. I keep planning to say I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch.
You realize it's only a 3-week tournament, right?
Yeah.
You can't wait until April to watch March Madness.
It's tough when the heels aren't playing, like that's my natural, the easy way into it. And so I didn't even have as much fun filling out my bracket this year. I couldn't write. I mean, I did try to put UNC in as a winner, but ESPN and CBS won't let you.
Generally, I don't think that's allowed, but I respect the hustle anyway. But so what you're looking at next year is North Carolina's going to have a core of a point guard in his fourth season, who will probably play at the one and could move off depending on who comes in the transfer portal. And then Armando Bacot, who, again, all conference, everything. You can't really find that out there. A guy like Jalen Washington, who has the pedigree and showed flashes when he was playing. Just, I think with Pete Nance being here, it was going to be tough for him to sniff the court. So you've got that is at least a starting core. And with the market the way it is, with players wanting to go where they can get their best opportunity, there's going to be guys that want to come play at North Carolina. I know it's tough for fans to see that right now. And it's tough for them to believe because right now we're in the going out portion of the transfer portal season. Yeah. But there's going to be a lot of people that are, I'm telling you right now, there are guys right now calling North Carolina because they want to come play here.
Yeah.
So am I being thick-headed when I get frustrated with people who are freaking out by all of the departures and hand-wringing and stuff? Am I being thick-headed by that? It's okay if I am. You can say so.
No, I think it's totally reasonable because, I think that if you take a snapshot right now and think about all the emotions people are talking about and feeling, you fast forward to 2 weeks before tip next year. It's national championship hopes all over again. That's just where we'll be. And so, no, I'm right there with you. I think that there'll be plenty of people that want to come play here. It's University of North Carolina. And so I don't think it'll be tough to find the guys that want to come in and play. Just got to find a way to win with them.
The funny thing is, it may not even take that long. Yeah, I tell you right now, when guys start committing via the transfer portal to come play at North Carolina next year, it may not even take till preseason next year. It might be May, and all of a sudden people are like, all right, they've got the Birdman looking out the window, kind of look where they're ready for the title run to begin. And so I guess all that to say, if you're freaking out about these guys leaving, I get it. But two things to consider: it's not your dad's college basketball transfer, right? We saw it with football where you saw a good chunk of guys leave the program because they want to go somewhere else. They want to have a better crack at playing time. So don't freak out yet because, they're doing what's best for them, but also be patient because now you're going to have a chance for guys to come visit Chapel Hill. They're going to have guys have a chance to talk with the coaching staff. And then in a couple of weeks, you'll have guys coming in instead of people leaving. Speaking of guys coming in, let's take a little bit of a turn here. Did you catch any of the news about the new football analysts that have been added to Matt Brown's staff?
Yeah. I've seen the news of both of them. I'm really excited about it. Admittedly, I didn't go down like, a deep dark hole and research every play these guys have ever called or anybody they've ever coached. But
well, so much for the show today. You killed us, buddy.
Well, no, I did do all my Wikipedia research, of course, when the news broke. And so it was really cool to see some of the teams that those guys have come from. I think the players they've worked with. And so I'm really excited. Like, you talk about hopes in preseason being high. Like, I'm convinced the Heels are playing in the college football playoff next year. That's me every year. I'm convinced that that's going to be the case. And so I'm excited to watch them go to work.
When you see a guy like Ted Monachino as a defensive guy, and you see the guys that Monachino's worked with, Terrell Suggs, and T. Sizzle is on the record saying very good things about Monachino. Khalil Mack, Elvis Dumerville. I mean, he's worked with some real pass rushers. What was the one thing everybody wanted Carolina's defense to do last year?
Get after the quarterback.
So, again, if you want to bang on this staff, and we've done it on this show about the inability to rush the quarterback, the inability to get pressure on the quarterback, why the defense was not able to get into the backfield. And then everybody wants to say, well, Mac's just hanging out with his buddies. Okay, but this shows a bit of a change, does it not?
Yeah, no, it's saying like, hey, I don't think it was Twitter, right, that made those things happen. But what it means is that, at the end of the year, they go into their self-scout and they go look at all this stuff and break it down. And I guess what they came out with was some of the same things that some of the Twitter sphere was saying. And they realized it and went and put a patch on it, went and found an answer. So I'm pumped.
And good on the NCAA for allowing college staffs to now get kind of bloated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen Tommy's talked about it here on the show before, but you have seen where Florida had that team photo last year where they got 100 guys in jerseys and 200 guys in polos because their staff is so big. But all that to say, I'd like to see this staff going that route and trying to bring in not only guys that have won, but guys that have worked in places that the Tar Heels had gaps and weaknesses last year.
Yeah. And to be able to plug them in, I think that role, like that analyst role, is a really interesting one. Obviously, it's been around for a while, but I think it's getting more and more popular because those guys can't coach on the field. They can't be on the field. They can't be hands-on with the players, but they know enough that behind closed doors and in a film room and in breaking like that, they're really, really valuable and can give those coaching points and those tips to guys. So, yeah, I'm really pumped about the way we're adding to this staff.
Well, and they did it on both sides of the ball. So we talked about Ted Monachino, but they also brought in Clyde Christensen, who Carolina guy,
Mm-hmm.
Played for North Carolina years and years ago, was here during the LT years. I'm not sure if he had anything to do with the throwing a vending machine off of the balcony at Morris or not, but Clyde Christensen, Tar Heel at heart. He said at his press conference this week he wanted to get back to town. His wife's got family in Winston or somewhere in the Triad area. And I think it's important that those guys want to come be a part of this.
Yeah.
I think they recognize that, okay, this isn't a long-term thing. These guys aren't going to come be coaching staff lifers, right?
Sure.
But they are going to come in and bring knowledge, success at the highest level, and their experience working with these top guys. I mean, if you think about Christensen, we mentioned Monachino's pedigree, but now you've got Clyde Christensen, who worked with Brady, worked with Peyton Manning, he's worked with some other really high-level quarterbacks. You can't tell me that he's not going to bring something in that's going to help Drake May, or it's going to help Connor Harrell. It's going to help anybody in that quarterback room. Probably he's going to have some things when he's talking with UNC's offensive staff as a whole that he might be able to sprinkle in just here and there. Like, have you thought about X, Y, Z?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is that obviously it's a huge value add for players, but you think about coaches too. Just football is a small world. Like, everyone learns from each other. Everyone has to go steal from each other and all that stuff. And I mean, steal strategies, not plays or anything like that. But
some people steal plays depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, that's fair. I just wasn't here to make that accusation. But no, it's really cool to see that these coaches now too get to work with these brilliant minds. I think they'll add a lot of value there because, like we were saying, like, they can't go on the field and be hands-on, but when they're in those meetings and talking, like you're saying, they can look at them and say, hey, have you thought about it this way? Hey, have you given this coaching point yet? Hey, I experienced this at this place. What do you think about this for that answer?
Do you think, if you were a player, say we put the Wayback Machine on and you get a chance to go back, how excited are you if coaching staff is bringing in veteran minds like this? Again, just to be in the room when you guys are having position meetings.
I'd be absolutely ecstatic. I think that the first thing you always do as a player, I don't know how these guys found out about the staff additions, but the first thing you do when you find out about a new coach coming, whether you find out from the team, or you find out from Twitter, is you go look at their background. You say, okay, what can they do that's gonna add to me as a player? And I remember the feeling of looking when Coach Chiswick was announced. I saw that on Twitter. I remember looking it up. I mean, I didn't have to look that one up. I knew that. But I'm sure as soon as this was announced, whether these guys found it out from the team or through Twitter, whatever, they went and looked up their names, and they were absolutely cheesing. They were absolutely ecstatic to get to work with them.
I mean, and again, it's not the type of thing. If you're telling a 20-year-old college kid, hey, this guy worked with some of your insert position name idol here, it's going to get them fired up, and hopefully it might help them to, where they may not have cared as much. Maybe it helps them care that little extra degree, or maybe knowing that this guy has coached at the highest level where some of them want to get and aspire to have a career in. Maybe that plugs them in a little bit more. Maybe it gets them a little fired up. I'm fired up for the show today, man. Shaq has brought the coffee and the energy, so appreciate Shakeel Rashad being here with us today. Again, if you're just tuning in, Tommy Ashley is out today. He is on tour with Nickelback. He is actually auditioning to be a roadie for them. I'm not sure what that audition looks like, but Tommy left here in a Nickelback t-shirt and carrying a bunch of framed photographs. Got no idea how that's going to work out, but we'll be right back after this break. Big show for you today. Thanks everybody for being here. Listen, if you're at the open practice, I don't know why you're listening to us if you're at the open practice, but either way, if you didn't go to the open practice today, it's raining. We appreciate you listening to the show. I'll be right back after this break. We'll talk to somebody who was at live practice, get some insight, and we'll keep rolling along. Thanks for being here. This is Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Matt Merletti, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
Hello, friends. Smart Times. A clean car is a happy car.
Best head of hair to ever come out of UC.
Clean and happy. That's why we now offer
You need to record one of these
car
too.
wash and detailing services.
Really? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I thought you meant
All
like a whole show. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
you're
gonna
wrong.
take off. You got it.
Just finish up.
You all right? You feel good?
Just wrap it. Yeah.
That sounds perfect, dude. I didn't have any doubts that you would be seamless on this, which is one of the reasons I called you first.
Hey, Tar Heel fans, are you game ready? Alumni
All right.
is your-
Oh, man. And so what we'll do in this segment,
The best and largest
I'll ask Tommy 2 questions.
whole family.
Okay.
You can ask me 2 what?
Nike Golf,
Just going straight to
Oh, shit.
hats, Yeti,
automated voice
accessories,
Extremely loud music in the
and
stadium.
UNC students, faculty, and
what?
military
It
receive
says
tickets
extremely
from
loud
the
music
store
in the
every
stadium.
day.
Oh, that's a
Earn
problem.
cash back with their Hall Pass rewards.
Someone go to the
Alumni
bathroom.
Hall, located on Franklin Street.
It's a good call. I'm trying to think.
Go do the interview from the bathroom.
Where Tar Heel fans shop.
You're gonna look a little weird,
You
but
start
you
hearing
know.
flushing in the background.
Well, it'd be like that. Who was it we were talking to that one time that was playing golf while they were on the phone?
No.
You could just hear
It might have been Vip.
in the back. Yeah, you just hear think in the background whenever somebody took a
Vip
shot.
did it one time, like literally you could hear the golf cart engine. Just
And then they would stop and you hear.
That's great. Check into that.
Don't mind us.
And then there was
On the radio,
then there was a guy that was on the treadmill.
Yeah, one of the play-by-play guys we talked to at one point, he was like, you could hear it.
Yeah.
You just hear the
He's
treadmill.
just walking there.
Yeah.
What a champ.
Don't mind us.
Because me and Joey were looking at each other like, what is that noise? And then somebody goes, treadmill?
Try me again, see what happens. I'm texting with him.
We live where we live. Visit us at
Unless you can go somewhere else.
CIMGINC.com.
At Tech Contento, we believe food is a celebration of life.
What sucks is it's not going to be crowded enough to like dampen
How
any
we
of that
know
noise either.
Yeah.
It's just bouncing off of it.
Yeah.
From
Nope.
tacos made with homemade
All right, well.
tortillas
Oh.
to various rice
I'll tell him to
bowls to
call
our
me.
amazing chorizo dip, you are
Not
sure to
answering.
smile when you taste what we have to
yeah,
offer.
so
Come visit us
my
on
roommate
15
left
Bible
this
1
morning
next
to
North
fly out to
China
Colorado
Village, corner
because he's a
of
teacher
Gas
in Durham
Station.
County,
Or
and their
learn more
spring
at
break is next week.
TA-.
So he's meeting his dad for a trip.
During the
And
pandemic,
one of his
Forest
dogs,
County
who he's had for about a year and a half now, was a feral that was found and then rescued. And she had separation
Oh, freak out.
anxiety.
Tore up house.
Shit about 4 places.
Oh.
I mean, I do that when my family does.
Yeah.
Shit all over.
I mean,
the
usually
I do it
it's
on
just-
Thursdays.
I just do it when I drink. That's
Yeah.
about it, you know. Yeah, I woke up and I walked downstairs. I was like,
Oh,
no.
Yeah, it's also something that'll smell good week, dude.
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I can't eat it.
listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Inside Carolina Live. Shaq, you ever rock the Casbah?
I couldn't tell you what a Casbah is. Is it like a jukebox or something?
I think it's an old wooden ship.
Huh. Yeah, I would have believed you. You could have said anything.
I should have totally sold that.
Yeah.
It would have worked. Inside Carolina Live. Appreciate you guys joining us on Saturday morning.
Hey, Tommy.
We get up to do this show with you,
Gotcha.
and we are glad that you were a part of it. Shout out to everybody, the almost 200 folks that were up in the chat on the YouTubes this morning. That's always fun. Love to see that. Somebody that is that decided he was going to flake on the show today, but he's still kind of working. We appreciate it. Tommy Ashley. Tommy is live on the scene at UNC spring practice in a very cloudy, overcast, pseudo damp morning. TA, what's up, dude?
What's going on, my man? It's a little chilly out here. No practice going on in Kansas Stadium, but everything looks good so far since you're home. Of course,
Hey, tell Mac we're trying to have a radio show, please. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, we replaced you. We've acquired the rights of Shakeel, Rashad, and we were considering what your future with the show is going to be.
I was gonna say, you say it's cold out there. I appreciate the seat inside. It's beautiful here.
He's also found your coffee stash too, Tommy. Tommy, what's new at spring practice? Well, this isn't the official spring game or anything, but it's an open practice, which didn't used to happen. What's new that you can see today as opposed to what you would have seen last year or seasons past?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot. You've got it makes more focus, right? It's more a lot less casual than maybe it has in the past. I'm sitting down here and I'm watching Amari Gaynor or Chiswick, Brooker in the jack position, and seeing the other guys go through drills and all. You were there at the practice a couple weeks ago. A little more compact in Kansas Stadium because they don't have the space, but there's a lot more attention to detail, at least from afar, and a lot more serious. Mac has always been pretty serious about it, but I think they realize that this work now is important because this season is the season that they just want to.
So that kind of goes with, I guess, the theme. Shaq and I talked a second ago about the fact that in North Carolina has brought in 2 analysts from the NFL, and wanted to check those out. So I want to ask you, can you tell that those guys have had an effect? Have you seen them on the field yet? I know they can't actually coach, but I want to see, have you seen those guys? You were in the press conference earlier this week when they were announced. Just what are you seeing that they might be adding to the vibe?
Well, I think it's what I mentioned there. It's a focus that there's no playtime here, right? Everybody has work to do, and eyes are on, and they've got to produce, or they're not going to play. That was a big thing Chiswick talked about a couple weeks ago. And you can see the focus out here. I'll tell you who looks good. Tamari Fox looks good.
Yeah.
He missed all of last year. He obviously stayed in shape. He looks physically imposing. There's no big belly on him like there might be on a couple others.
Hey, I'm sitting right here, pal.
Not in the building.
Oh, okay.
But you see the offensive line down there working with Randy Clemens. You talk about what's new. I mean, he's got contraptions that he's using to keep his guys' hands in the right place and feet in the right distance that just looks sort of medieval. And so I just think this team understands, and I think Mike especially understands that Drake May is in his last year most likely, and they got to do it this year. Because no disrespect to Connor Harrell or J-Bo, Aztaz Hudson, or anybody else on the roster, but this is Drake May's team, and this is the year to sort of take care of business with everything else.
Yeah. And Tommy, you were talking about bellies and then went right to talking about offensive line. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I kind of felt like there was no love for the big guys there.
There's love for the big guys, but they're a long ways away, so I can talk about them.
Yeah.
from the distance. But yeah, I mean, I'm watching Clemens down there working, and you know, you got a guy like Corey Gaynor that's been playing football forever. It seems like.
Yeah.
And you got they talk about Spencer Rollins gotten better. Now I observed him on Rucker just destroyed offensive line a couple weeks ago in practice. But those guys, it's a different mindset down there, and it's a clean slate. You know, we talked about that. The guys that might not play that expect to play, well, they've got no excuse. You don't play this year. You've had 3 different coaches looking at you.
No,
It's still different. So,
they're very cool.
disrespect to the big guys. In fact, I would say, Shaq, that they're the most important guys on the team this year, on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, is that who you're watching most while you're out there? Offensive line, or are there any other groups too?
I lose you guys.
No, we're still
Still
here.
gotcha. Yeah. I was saying, is that O-line group? Is that who you're watching the most as you're out there? Or are there any other groups too?
I didn't hear the first part of that.
Who are you watching most while you're out there?
I'm looking at the defense.
Gotcha.
I'm down there on the defense.
And what's the speed look like out there? You mentioned there's this intense focus, not as casual as usual. Are guys flying around? What's the speed look like?
Yeah, there's a little feedback in my ear here. But, you know, like I said, they look fit. They look quick. You know, obviously they're not doing a whole lot right at the moment. They'll be able to get better today in practice. But it feels like a more fit and more put together team. We've always talked about Carolina looks good off the bus. I mean, you look good all the time, Shaq.
Appreciate it.
Especially getting off the bus. But this family, Power Echols, you know, he looks quick, he looks fast. Dude Caldwell looks pretty good. He probably could stand to drop a little weight. But of course, Seth Gray, always going to be that guy. So the defensive line looks quicker. Desmond Evans looks, you know, it's in shape as he's been. So, like I said, I don't think there'll be any excuses. And as far as the jack position, Amari Gaynor is going to be something for this team.
So one of the things about Gaynor, and a reason I think he was so attractive for North Carolina's roster, you know, last year when Noah Taylor went down and Des Evans went down, North Carolina lost all of their speed on the edge. And they lost that kind of, I guess, stand-up, you know, straight line rush player that they'd become accustomed to. Gaynor kind of has that. And even his nickname is Amari Ferrari. So I wonder, does he match the eye test, and do you think that he can provide the speed and ranginess that Carolina got from Taylor last year and Evans to some extent?
I think so, and I think you've got Ben too, right? So they're working on drill, getting Ben around the corner. I think that's something we saw when they put Ritzy on one of the ends, whether it's power in, I guess, and he doesn't have the Ben to really get around and under that tackle. Gaynor's got that, and he's physical. He's 23 years old at this point, so he's a grown man. And between him and Brooker at Jack, I think they need to stay healthy. But they certainly address that issue. And Gaynor is a head taller than Brooker. You know, standing there looking at him, and not quite, but at least half a head taller, and has got that length maybe that Noah Taylor had that nobody else has really had last year.
So last question, and we'll let you get back to clowning out there at open practice. Well, hang on. Let's put 2 questions in here. Is there any kind of crowd? I mean, I think the rain might have dampened, pardon the pun, any sort of momentum they had with people showing up today. Because the weather yesterday was amazing, and then this morning a nice little line of thunderstorms rolled through. Is there anybody out there at all?
No, I mean, there's some people under the overhang on the home side, group of folks, and then there's some folks down here on the overhang. But I'm in section, whatever this is, 102, so I can have some peace to talk to you guys. And I think I could probably get a pitching wedge, and I might be able to get to somebody over here.
Humble brag.
But yeah, not a big crowd, more people on the field than in the stands. But the sun's trying to come up, so maybe some people are trickling.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you making time for us today. Last thing, and I mean it this time before you get out of here. Today's open practice will be a success if
They stay healthy and they continue to improve.
All right. Well, I think the coaching staff will probably agree with you there. Hey, man, thanks for thanks for taking a second for us as you're out there to practice. Enjoy yourself. And I don't know. We'll see if Shaq gives up the chair. Might let you back next week.
That's fine. He can have it. I think next week's April Fool's Day, so it'll be perfect. But I'll tell you this: they've got some player availability after practice here. I think Corey Gainer, one of those guys.
Whoa, that's a first.
Nice.
Yeah, and his name's on the list. We'll see if he agrees to it. But Power Eccles is on it as well, so there should be some good content in Inside Carolina for all the football players that did make it out today. Check it out, and of course, the crowd will have it on there. I will be going to baseball games, hopefully in the sunshine, because, like I said earlier, it is chilly out there. Yeah, boys, be good.
All right, man. That's Tommy Ashley, one-time co-host of this show. He is at spring practice today, checking out what the Tar Heel football team is doing. Shaq, I don't want to belabor the point because I know that guys have opinions about spring practice. How did spring practice go for you? I mean, did you participate in all of them? Were you coming off injuries sometimes? Because a lot of times starters have to get stuff cleaned up.
Yeah. And
spring practice is time that they forego, and they it ends up being film study or light rep stuff or yellow jersey stuff. Or what was spring practice for you?
Yeah, any year that didn't result in like a January surgery, spring ball, like you're saying, was pretty light. We would get after it, of course. Like we would go out there and grind and get better, but at the same time, like the point of spring is to get ready for the fall and so if what it means to get ready for a guy who's had 3 years worth of reps is to get more mental reps, give his body some time to recover, then that's what it was. But it was always fun. Like it was the opportunity to go out and compete and play football. And honestly, there's just not as much around it. You don't have to worry about having all those people in the stands and everything. Like if you grow up loving football, like sure, it's another 15 practices where you don't play a game, but at the same time, 15 practices where there's like, you're not really playing with any fear. There's no fear of like, oh, we're not gonna be ready this Saturday for this game. You can really just go compete and get better and have fun with it. So I'd always have a good time in the spring. It's kind of weird because you come out of winter conditioning and you want nothing to do with that by the time it's over. Like you're used to getting out there every morning at 6 a.m. or whatever time they're doing it now, 6 a.m., running until you puke, all this stuff. And you're like, just let me go play football. Like, I just want to go play football now.
I'm all done with the running. Can I just do some footballing, please?
Exactly.
I can feel that. I think a lot of times, too, there might be a misconception from fans about, I don't know, maybe guys kind of half playing because they know they've got a starting job. How competitive is it for guys that are maybe not on the 2 deep or on the 2 deep coming for your spot? Is that legit? And does it result in any sort of, I don't know, maybe we get some hands thrown? How does that usually work?
Oh yeah, it gets fiery out there because you got to think about it, right? Like by the time you get in pads in training camp, you're 2-3 weeks away from playing a game. Like by the time you get to that point, you've really got to have at least somewhat of an idea of what you'd like your 2 deep to look like. And so the guys that aren't on there in the spring, they're competing. They're trying to make that 2 deep because they know when they get to training camp the next time they're strapping up that the 2 deep is where most of the reps are going to be gotten. So that third set, that fourth group, like they're really getting after it during the spring to try to earn those fall reps. But them getting after it means that the 1s and 2s have to too, because the second that it looks like the team's better out there on the field with somebody at the 3 or the 4 spot, that becomes your 3 or 4 spot. And that guy in the 3 or 4 jumps up and takes you.
Any sort of hard feelings that happen when that goes down? I mean, or is it just, I got to take it back. I can't be mad about it.
Yeah, I don't think that I'd say that you definitely see it from time to time, but nobody looks at it and says, hey man, like you were in the right for feeling that, it's what we all came here to do.
Kudos
right?
to you for being a good citizen.
Yeah, like 125 of us came from all across the country to go play college football. Obviously only 11 step on the field at a time. And so when someone outcompetes you and shows that the team's better with you on the field, of course it's their job to take. And so if your response is anything other than going and working to try to win it back, then you're probably not doing it right.
Fair enough. Well, listen, it's been weird seeing how this team adjusts coming off of a season where they kind of, I don't want to say they went the tank, but I think they kind of went the tank. I don't think they meant to. I think just guys get hurt. We mentioned Evans and Taylor on the edge, kind of killing what they wanted to do defensively and their ability to contain, but just didn't have the results at the end of the season that they wanted. So it's neat to see what spring looks like with that. And with all these new names and new coaches and new styles and philosophies, and I think just like in basketball, the staff's having hard conversations. I think the football staff has had some hard conversations with some guys too about, hey, we're not doing this half stepping anymore. This is we're either going out to win or we're not. And depending on who you talk to around Mac Brown, that dude hates to lose. And I know fans might think otherwise, but so I can imagine it probably burned him a little bit. All right, take a break. We're going to come right back, talk a little more basketball. We're going to talk with Michael Brooker, the only guy in Carolina history to play for Dean Smith, Bill Guthridge, and Matt Doherty. So we'll be right back to talk with Brooke. He's going to give us kind of his feelings on transfers, get his perspective and his tie to Coach Smith, and see kind of how they might have looked at this sort of new landscape. We'll be right back. Shakeel, Rashad's over there. AJ's on the ones and twos, making sure that we're on the air. I'm Joey Powell. This is Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Ryan Taylor, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
I think it's on the computer.
The magic of the movies to Chapel Hill. The curtains are up, and we haven't just updated the seats and screens. We seriously upped our concession game with soft serve ice cream, drool-worthy nachos, hot dogs with vegan options, and a variety of beverages, including excellent canned beer, wine, and cider. And of course, the latest and greatest blockbuster movies at the
Talk to Landon since he got his leg
blue
blue.
Complete renovations, hire new staff. These factors need to be considered into the current insurance program to be accurate in the event of a claim.
For more information, go to seagrowsinsurance.com, insuring what matters to North Carolina.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Inside Carolina Live. Man, had some audio difficulties this morning. I guess that's what happens when the thing that's Tommy's job, because he was out this morning, we didn't figure out how to do that. We were just doing our job, but we did not step up properly for our teammate. And I will own that, Shaq. I will fix that. I will go back. I will correct it in practice, and we will be better next time for it.
Belichick would have liked that. Just do your job, just do your job.
Well, anyway, I think we've got it fixed. All the folks that are in our that are in the YouTube chat, I think we got it cleared up now. So you guys should be hearing everything properly. So thanks for the heads up, and thanks for everybody for letting us know. A guy that I never have to worry about his audio because he's got such an amazing, like Anthony Hamilton-esque voice is Michael Brooker. Brooke, we teased you earlier as the only guy that I know of that played for all three, Coach Smith, Coach Guthridge, and Coach Doherty. And so I thought it would be cool to get your perspective today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Man, I can't complain. So listen, Tommy decided that he wanted to go play around at King Stadium today. So Shakeel Rashad is here with us today, and he's absolutely made us up our game. Brooke, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I know you're playing basketball, Dad, this weekend, so I appreciate you. With all these transfers leaving, I think there's been, rightfully to some extent, just some bad feelings amongst the fan base, and everybody feeling weird and feeling bad about it. What do you think about, as a guy who has been in that locker room and a guy who now has kind of transitioned to being a fan, how do you feel about seeing guys leave the program that you were a part of?
I mean, I think it's easy to feel concerned like something's wrong or, obviously the season didn't go as anyone would like. And a lot of the guys that are leaving did not, probably play the prominent roles that they anticipated coming into their careers. A couple of them are, younger, and I just think that the college landscape, the basketball landscape, the landscape of college sports in general has changed so dramatically from when I played to where guys aren't willing to, develop and wait. They want it now. And that's always been the case. Maybe there were just guardrails in place before where you couldn't just leave. A guy like a nickel would develop and, play next year 10, 15, 20 minutes and just kind of to be that 3 or 4 year guy. But you just don't see that patience nowadays. And I think it's easy to see, raise alarm bells, but I just think that's the nature of college athletics now. And I don't think, obviously Carolina's not immune to it. I don't see somebody leaving Carolina. I think that's the pinnacle for myself and for a lot of folks, but obviously a lot of guys don't see it that way. So I think that's where we stand now.
We're talking with Michael Brooker, UNC basketball, Letterman, alum, all that good stuff. The guy who's actually had a locker inside the Smith Center before. Brooke, what would Coach Smith have felt about this sort of transfer thing? Because we know he was a big-time players' first coach. And I kind of feel like maybe he would have advocated for players being able to go where they wanted to go. And I feel like maybe he would have adapted pretty well to this new landscape. But you played for the man. He recruited you. How do you feel like Coach Smith would have played this new era, this NIL era, this transfer portal era that we're seeing right now that a lot of folks are kind of struggling with?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think he obviously advocates for players and wants them to do, what's best for them. But, obviously he had a program built on development and loyalty and trust and et cetera. And just, seniority to a certain degree and not making guys wait their turn, but having guys earn their spot, earn their minutes, et cetera. And kind of breaking through, after they, the Vince Carters who, played 17, 18 minutes a game, even though he was obviously an otherworldly talent. And just so, I think he would have adapted well. Obviously, I think he's, in my mind, the greatest to ever do it. So I know he would have adapted well. But it's definitely a different age. And I think a lot of these older coaches that have been rooted in, the ways, their ways and the way it's always been, that they, they're starting to see that maybe the Coach K's and the Coach Williams and the Coach Wrights, that maybe it's time for me to step away and let some of these younger guys deal with all the madness that comes with all the transfers, et cetera.
Yeah, and Michael, this is Shaq here this time. You talk about this new age, guys are moving around and everything. What types of players do you think that UNC, what would you like to see UNC add this offseason, whether it's specific names, positions, types of players? What would make sense to you?
I I think, and y'all probably touched on this often, but just like athletic, dynamic type wings, I don't know how many of those are floating around in the portal, but just guys that are athletes that can defend, that can, obviously shooting is a key concern and was this year with our 3-point percentage being one of the lowest in Division I. That's kind of hard to find, somebody that's just dynamic wing athlete that can also stroke it at a high clip. So, obviously we need to add some shooting. We need to add some depth on the wings. I thought a guy like Puff, with RJ coming back and Wiltshire coming in, I thought he would have obviously gotten more minutes this year and been a very key contributor. But and Nickel, those types of guys, we need those types of guys, but we need some frontline wings, I think, to really take that next step and get over the hump. As you see in the NCAA tournament, there's so much athleticism on the wings and guys playing for the rim, and, et cetera. So I think we definitely need to, the Kawasi Reeves type, Steve Timberlake, being a name that shoots it really, really well, and those types, I think are good names and would be great additions to us. We need those types of guys for sure.
Yeah, and then with all the guys coming and going, it's we don't want to sit here and forget about what we do have coming back. So Armando and RJ are coming back next year. What are your expectations for them?
I think that was huge, seeing both those guys come back and Jalen Washington coming back. I was hoping he was going to stay. I think he's going to be a real key contributor. Very talented young man now that he's got a full year under his belt. Hopefully getting healthier and healthier. Hopefully Wiltshire and Zayden High. Hopefully Zayden High is that type of athletic, small forward, 3-4 man that can come in and contribute even as a freshman. So, those additions are not additions, but returnees were huge to see those names. Try to add a little stability to what has been kind of a hectic off season so far. But I think it's going to settle down a little bit. People start to relax a little bit and understand that this is just how it is nowadays. And as we see some more clarity with the transfer portal, I think we'll start to kind of get a better idea of the expectations for next year and start to feel a little better about where we're headed.
We're talking to Michael Brooker, UNC basketball alumnus. Man was recruited by Dean Smith, played for Smith, Guthridge, and Doherty. One of the things I think about your perspective is really unique, Mike, is that you played for those three different coaches. Hubert Davis is obviously kind of a disciple of Coach Smith and played for Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge. What did you see last year, that maybe troubled you, and maybe something that you felt like, gosh, is this a fatal flaw, or could that have just have been a byproduct of maybe the roster not being what he needed? Is there anything that jumped out at you last year like that?
I think it's more of the latter of what you just said, the roster at the moment. I just think, where we are, we had so many games that were so close. I think 12 of our 13 losses were single-digit losses. I think 8 of those we had leads in the second half. We just could never put it all together for long stretches or stretches of the game or stretches of 4 or 5 games at a time against great good competition. We saw glimpses of it, but I think it's more roster construction more than anything. Obviously Coach Davis is learning on the job. He's going to make some mistakes, as all coaches do, and grow into the role. I think in today's society, people expect perfection from coaches because they make so much money and they just expect them to make the right decision at all times. But just like players and just like everybody in their jobs, he's going to continue to grow into his job and get better and better at it. The expectations in the bar was raised pretty high, obviously last year with the run and everybody coming back. But I just think our guard play was a little inefficient, a lot inefficient at times, and it just didn't allow for that continuity, didn't allow for that consistency that we needed to really get to where we wanted to this year. So we'll continue to learn and grow. I think he's doing, we'll continue to navigate this portal and figure out, what's needed to put us where we need to be in the national landscape.
Brooke, you talked about earlier when Shaq asked you about Mondo and RJ coming back. I think one of the things that Armando and RJ have both said in various quotes it seems like they've focused on this new commitment or a renewed commitment to the success of the program. How valuable is that when you have guys that are upperclassmen that did not have the season that they wanted last year? Granted, you were never on a team that struggled the way last year's or this past season's team did. But how important is it to have guys like that who are saying these types of things, a full 6-7 months ahead of practice? What does that mean to the locker room?
I think it's phenomenal. It's great. Those two guys have a lot of sweat equity and with the program, obviously high level players, and I think change was, I saw you tweet something about, everybody wanted roster turnover, and now that it's happening, everybody's panicking. So, but I think the stability those two guys bring, I think the character they bring, obviously at different positions, which I think is key. They can kind of be the leader at each position and also the leaders in the locker room. That's crucial because
and we're
so that we, you there?
Yeah. I thought you went under a bridge or something.
I'm sorry. So I think it's key that we, those guys, lead the push to get us back to where, we've always been and to where we anticipate us going moving forward. So those two returnees were huge in my book because, if that didn't happen, who knows where this thing would have headed.
For sure. All right, we're talking with Michael Brooker. Brooker, the last question I'm going to give you a chance to flex a little bit. How was Coach Brooker's season this year?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, we ended up going 27-5 and made a hard push and won the 6A state championship in Georgia. So it's an incredibly difficult classification. Just every single night playing, guys that are going D1, multiple D1s on pretty much every team we play, and it was a lot of fun. Guys played hard, and it was a heck of a run. First state title in school history in 37 years of playing. So it was good stuff. We were very happy for it. Very fun. So.
Well, it's been fun to follow that on social and see kind of, I'm old enough now where I enjoy watching the young kids get excited about stuff. So it was fun to see those kids light up and experience those moments. So I'm glad you got to experience that, man. That's awesome. But
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. Well, I appreciate you making time for us. I know you were somewhere in rural Georgia right now heading to an AAU event. So good luck today. Safe travels. We'll talk to you sometime in the very near future.
All right. Thanks so much, man. Y'all take care.
All right. Take it easy. That's Michael Brooker joining us. And literally, Shaq, when I tell you he's on the road, I think his son's got an AAU event somewhere in Georgia today. So he's literally driving to his kid's game. That's awesome. Make a time for us. And it was really cool to see. It was cool to see the team that he was coaching this year had the success they did. I mean, state championship at 6A in Georgia. You're a Southeastern U.S. guy. I mean, when you start hearing 6A titles, that means something, right?
That's big time basketball. I wonder if there's anybody on that roster that can help the Tar Heels.
I assure you, if there was, that the coaching staff would know about it since they happen to have a Tar Heel alum on the bench. All right, so here's the plan, guys. We're going to try to get this break out of the way quick. This is our top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and knock this out. We're going to be right back. We've got a special guest making his way to the studio for a second hour. I want to tell everybody, since we've got Shaq and Tommy's seat today, if you want to ask Shaq any questions, hit us up on the Twitter machine, drop them on the premium chat, or you can actually just throw them up in the YouTube chat if that's the way you're joining us. If you have questions for our upcoming guests here in a little bit, you can do the same. But it's your chance to ask these guys some questions. I think they'll probably be honest with you. I would like to think they won't pull any punches. Shaq, you feel good about talking to the people?
Yeah, I feel great about it.
By the way, you're a man of the people. Apparently, you have a lot of fans because folks in our YouTube chat are just raving about you. So I don't know if you've got a posse out there, but either way, these folks that are tuning in are big fans of yours. So I tip my cap to you, sir.
Those are all plants. I had iPhones, iPads, everything at home, timed up, ready to go for this. I asked people to make those comments.
Speaking of bots, that is some amazing bot work.
I do my best.
I'm big time indebted to your knowledge of bots. So we'll have our special guest is coming up here in a second, and hopefully, next hour of the show should be fun. We're not going to go full cruise control, but we are going to put the top down and turn some. Let's see, we'll play maybe some Warren G or some Dove Shack for some some good summertime cruising music as we have the warm weather down here in North Carolina now. So we'll be right back inside Carolina Live. Shakeel, Rashad joining me. I'm Joey Powell. Shout out to Tommy Ashley joining us from open spring practice here a few minutes ago, and to Michael Brooker as he travels for an AAU tournament in Georgia. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Zach Penalto, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
The Innovators is a monthly interview series airing on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, designed to shine a spotlight on innovators and entrepreneurs in our community. Presented by the Town of Chapel Hill Economic Development, The Innovators introduces you to the people and shares the stories behind startups and emerging businesses in our community. With a look to the future of industry in Chapel Hill, you can find all episodes of The Innovators at chapelboro.com/The Innovators.
Habitat for Humanity of Orange County is excited to host its 3rd annual Farm to Table dinner party, taking place on Saturday, April 15th at 5 p.m. Join in person at Tier Farms in Chapel Hill to enjoy an evening of mingling featuring live music, a photo booth, and a 3-course meal prepared by Chef Paris Michoud. All proceeds will raise funds to help Habitat for Humanity continue to build homes, communities, and hope in Orange County. Purchase tickets at orangehabitat.org.
The need for blood is constant, and sometimes that need becomes critical. From accident victims and cancer patients to premature babies and those with blood disorders, hospital patients rely on all of us to make sure that blood is on the shelves and ready to help. The Tar Heel community can help by giving blood with the American Red Cross at the 35th Annual Carolina Blood Drive. Schedule an appointment to give at the Dean E. Smith Center, May 3rd from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. by visiting redcrossblood.org.
Get back to the big screen at the newly renovated Lumina Theater, bringing back the magic of the movies to Chapel Hill. The curtains are up, and we haven't just updated the seats and screens, we've seriously upped our concession game with soft serve ice cream, drool-worthy nachos, hot dogs with vegan options, and a variety of beverages, including excellent canned beer, wine, and cider. And of course, the latest and greatest blockbuster movies at the best prices in town. Find our current movie listings and showtimes at thelumina.com.
First Watch Daytime Cafe is offering a new, delicious, shareable $1 million bacon. With any meal, enjoy 4 slices of their signature hardwood smoked bacon, glazed with brown sugar, black pepper, cayenne, and maple syrup drizzle. Add it to your own breakfast, brunch, or lunch, or share it with the table. Only at First Watch Daytime Cafe on the corner of Environ Way at East 54 in Chapel Hill.
The Chapel Hill Media Group is 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, your hometown radio station, and chapelboro.com, your hometown online newspaper with local news.
Welcome back to News on the Hill.
Local events.
The Carborough Music Festival is back.
Music for folks who love music. And Tar Heel sports.
Carolina is going to go to the national championship.
Get informed and connected with your community through the Chapel Hill Media Group.
Hi, it's Jones Angel, voice of the Tar Heels, and you're listening to your flagship station for Tar Heel sports, 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, Chapel Hill.
Coming to you straight from the heart of Chapel Hill in the 97.9 The Hill WCHL studios from the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Mississippi Queen, you know what I mean.
Inside Carolina Live. Happy Saturday to you. Hope everybody out there is enjoying their Saturday. You've got a nice little day lined up. Maybe doing some planting, maybe manicuring your yard, maybe changing the doilies on your kitchen table. Shaq, what are you doing later today?
I would love to say golf, but the weather's not there for me. So watching March Madness.
There you go. Finally getting into it. Yeah, it's going to be I don't know. Yesterday was such a baller day weather-wise here. It's like mid-80s, breeze blowing. All of the outside things yesterday and today, this rain looks like it wants to be a jerk about things. But either way, glad everybody's a part of this show this morning. Shaq, we've got a special guest coming in. Until he makes his way here, you and I can kind of I guess, wax poetic about what we were talking about during the break, and that's the fact that so many teams that are left in the tournament right now, and I don't mean they're upperclassmen, I mean like they're old players, like guys that are like in their 20s, mid-20s. There was a dude playing for Creighton. I think he's like 26. I'm not making that up. Like I think the guy's legitimately 26. But if you look at these rosters, the guys that are advancing, they are upperclassmen. They are guys that some of them have transferred and just joined the team this year. Looking at you, Miami. I mean, so here's a good story for you. Nigel Pack left Kansas State last year to transfer to Miami because they had a nice little NIL package for him. And now both of those teams are advancing to the Elite Eight. If you're worried about the transfer portal ruining basketball, I get it, but also it's a chance to fix your team. And if you need more evidence, look at what Kansas State and Miami are doing right now.
Yeah, it's a chance to fix your team and fix them right now. You know, usually you had to say 5-6 years ago, it had to be, if you don't like your roster, great. We need 4 years to get it turned around, get coaches guys in here. You can do it right now.
I mean, we mentioned earlier, North Carolina has had an in-home this week with Nick Timberlake, shooter from Towson, which if we saw anything last year, the team needed shooters. And they're going to have plenty of spots now. I mean, they've got 4 spots at the 3 and 4 position to hopefully try to improve that almost overnight. So they'll have that chance right now, and it's going to be neat to see, and it's going to be fun to watch how quickly North Carolina can fix some of the problems that they had. So we've got a large human hobbling his way into the studio right now. I'm glad to see him. I hate that he's hobbling. Landon Turner just darkened our doorway and is gonna sit down and join us for the second half of the show.
Made it just in time for the discussion about basketball.
Yeah,
Landon, is there anything you want to share with the people?
Wow,
on the spot.
Yeah, man. Let me get into this thing. Here we go. Hello. We made it. First, before anything, this is not right behind Alof. I got bad directions from Shaq, but we'll talk about that later. Basketball, great topic. I learned, I did inside run with Shaq for 4 years, hit my head several times. Nothing brought me lower than pickup basketball. Ruptured my patella in January. It's the most dangerous sport.
Couldn't you just sprain something? No, you got to go rupture a patellar tendon.
We don't do half measures.
God.
I want to get the full experience.
Landon Turner, the man, played in the NFL, was also team captain on the 2015 ACC Coastal Division champions, and decides, the thing that's going to injure me the most is hooping with my friends.
I'm telling you, the most dangerous sport is pickup basketball. I believe that. I used to be a doubter.
Well, I told Shaq during the break I wasn't going to be that guy texting you say, "Hey, why haven't I seen you at the gym?" But now I know why.
Yeah, that would be why.
Not a whole lot of working out going on when you've got a robo leg.
No, certainly not.
So Landon Turner joins us. Landon, look, we were talking about the NCAA and just how different the transfer portal is making basketball teams now. It's allowing teams to kind of fix their gaps and improve their situations immediately. That is not just limited to basketball. I think one of the things that we saw last year is that the Tar Heel football team went out after the season and found guys to do better what they weren't good at last year. I mean, we're talking about they brought in a slot receiver in Nate McCollum to play the Josh Downs role. They got Amari Gaynor to play the edge rusher. And I know you as a former tackle can appreciate that.
High school tackle.
Yeah, having an edge rusher.
You put me out there is probably something was very wrong.
Having an edge rusher come in, and they found some help in the back four. How do you feel like this portal can? I don't know. Do you feel like from both you and Shaq being locker room guys in the past, do you think you can assimilate these guys to the program, or is it one of those things that since they're upperclassmen, it's easier for them to come in and find their roles?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it could be both. I feel in the locker room, like the camaraderie can still like be there. Well, it's still a similar experience. And you're still in that room with guys that like chose to be in Chapel Hill. So it was, I don't think there's gonna be an issue like assimilating or anything like that. I think it's a culture, like a general football culture, and then you just mix that with they came to the greatest place on earth to play.
Dudes came in to win. So your point is that if they came to win, it's a business decision. They're going to be able to.
Yeah, I don't think I see like no resistance, even like trying to pull the words for it. It's like
that's fair.
It just is.
I think it also depends on your leaders that are there. Like by all accounts, it sounds like Cedric Gray, very hard worker. Drake May, very hard worker. When you get guys that are transferring in, and they're willing to work, and they come in and because when you have two of your best players on the team are guys that are hard workers and disciplined guys, if someone comes in and they're a senior or older player, and they kind of keep that status, they're still working their butts off, they're still getting along with the guys, then yeah, I think it's really easy to weave them right into the mix. I think where people have problems is if somebody shows up thinking they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, they're not willing to work. Like that's where you have an issue. But these guys all want to win, like Landon was saying. They all chose to be in Chapel Hill, so they want to do it together.
So we were talking about spring ball, and UNC is doing something they didn't do a lot when you guys were here about just having open spring practices. We're allowing people to come in and see. Granted, we know they're doing a lot of FUD. They're not doing a whole lot of actual game type reps, but the staff has new coaches in, Landon, and I want to ask you, and Shaq, I want your opinion too. What do players do differently when you know you've got new coaches, whether it's a position coach or, as we talked about earlier, the Tar Heels have added 2 NFL analysts to the staff now. How much does that change your prep? How much does that change how you show up in the position room? How much does that change just your approach in a spring practice when you've got some new guys with whistles and clipboards standing around?
Do you want to take this first?
Yeah, I can roll. I'm excited. I think you see a lot of players with a fresh start to really like just renewed energy. Like I remember whether it was at a position or you get a new coordinator and it's the whole entire defense now, but when there's someone new that you get to make a first impression on, you would see guys that maybe came in as a freshman at 17, 18 years old and didn't get off to a great start and weren't seeing eye to eye with people. And then boom, junior year comes around, they get a fresh start and they're a whole new person immediately. They're working hard on the field. They're getting things right in the classroom. They're staying out of trouble. You see stuff like that happen all the time. And so like, I wouldn't be surprised if at these groups where we have new people coming in, you see a new name pop up and it's somebody that's really like just maybe been buried in the depth chart of some before, but maybe they're, this fresh start is exactly what they needed. I know we had it plenty. Like I can think about teams that we played on where a guy was a really, really valuable contributor to us, where the year before it was like, is he going to be here in 6 months?
Yeah, man, there's something to the fresh start thing, because everybody's got like the level playing field and like everybody can like all the stuff that from last season doesn't matter anymore. Right. Like it might as well not even exist. I know that was the case for us in like from 2014 and 2015. We were 6 and 7 or something like that. It was brutal. Went to the Quick Lane Bowl.
I was going to ask, was that the Rutgers loss?
Yeah, Rutgers loss. Yeah, just to really end it on like a proper note. We got to lose in Detroit.
Not only do you get to go to Detroit, you get to go to Detroit and lose. Congratulations, guys.
But the point being is like that didn't matter when we came in. New class of seniors, new year. We just you shrug it off, and you can do that much easier when it's like a new coach, like Shaq was saying.
Well, hang on. Let's stay there. So, and again, not trying to like pour salt and rip scabs off of old wounds, but when you have a bad end of the season, like you guys did in Detroit, and like this team just did against Oregon, how much does it actually motivate the older guys in the room? Like, is that the type of thing that coaches are going to say? Coaches are going to say, if we'd had one more 15-yard game, we could have beaten Oregon. Do the players actually internalize that? And if so, what does it sound like?
Short answer is yeah. I think they internalize it, but not in the sense of like we got to be. I think you care, and especially as you get older, it's like my shot is getting thinner and thinner, and I don't have much time left. So what am I going to leave?
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go 11-3,
right?
But it definitely means that like I need to do everything I can so that I can look back and say I did what I could and gave this program what I could to like leave on a good note,
And I think that's why senior leadership is so important. I can specifically remember going into spring practices that 2015 season and having some of the older guys, like, sure, we had a lot of great younger players making plays that season, but it was the older guys in the spring that were saying, you know, after a bad day of practice, guys, we're not doing that again. Like, we just came from Detroit. Right. We're not going back. Yeah. We're not doing that again. And so, there's that kind of mix of, you need those seniors, those older guys to step up, because they have the memories. They remember what it was like when you stunk in 14 and in 13. Like, they remember those things. And then you mix that in with the talent that you start to bring in from the recruiting, is where you start to get a dangerous mixture.
So we talked earlier about UNC adding these NFL analysts, and both of you guys play in the league a little bit. Shaq gave us a little bit of insight, but for you, if you've got aspirations of playing the NFL, does it matter to have those types of guys talking to you? Do you automatically think that, hey, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about? He's coached, the who's who of future Hall of Famers. Like, do you, as a 20 or 21-year-old that has aspirations of the NFL, can you actually grasp that? Is that something you kind of actually can go talk to? Shaq says he did. Shaq said he basically would have kind of moved into their office and watched their car and all that good stuff just to make sure he was talking to the right people. But we also know Shaq's an overachiever. What about you? Is that the type of thing you would have grasped at that age?
I buy that. 100%, no question. Yes, I think you do. That's something you do understand. Because it doesn't hurt. It at the bare minimum, doesn't hurt to have someone that has that experience, because you have those aspirations, and they're available to you. And knowing coaches, most if not all coaches, are there to coach and help, right? So they're going to be probably even over eager to give you wisdom on what you should do, how should you approach preparation, how should you approach mentally, physically. It's a great resource. It's a great resource to have, and I 1,000% believe that 21-year-old me, and if not all of us would internalize it and be I gotta you want anybody who's reached 4 or 5 years of college football, they it's at least crossed their mind, right? And they want to pursue that, and they'll have a conversation.
I mean, especially when you're thinking about Clyde Christensen, that dude is a volunteer offensive analyst. He might just be here for the coffee, but he's got stories to share, and if he's spending his time, like you said, he's going to want to put some of the stories or give some insight and some help to some of these younger guys. Give you guys a chance to have a little fun here. Shaq, I'll let you go first. Worst spring practice story. Go.
See, as you'd imagine, we get an inside drill. So for anyone that's not familiar with it, they take all the receivers out.
Landon's sitting right here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you doing this just because he's got a brace on his knee and now you get back at it?
No.
I'm nervous.
I loved inside. That was the best part of practice, because I couldn't cover to save my life anyway. So you take the receivers out of the way, and I get excited.
Who needs skill position players?
So they send away the receivers and the starting quarterback. And then from there, it's just handoffs, and they're just run plays back one after another. My worst spring practice story ever. As you'd imagine, that drill erupted into a lot of rambunctious, there's some scraps. Worst stories are always when you get involved with one and Landon's around. That's not a guy you want to see.
By the way, he's admitted to being a bottom of the pile guy. He's absolutely admitted to being that guy before.
When people start pushing and shoving, it's look around, find 78 and go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. You don't want to get embarrassed out
there. We do. Yeah, there's a couple scraps,
and you can leave names out of it to protect the innocent. That's fine.
Oh yeah, no, it's all it's practice.
It's fun and games. It's fun. You laugh afterwards. Yeah, a good laugh about it.
There's sometimes the guys had to hold hands and run around the field. That's happened before.
A little kumbaya session.
Yeah, it's funny. This is probably a terrible joke, but I'm trying to remember my worst spring practice, but I had to do inside with Shaq, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah, certain parts of my memory.
I was the guy that had to pull. He loved inside. I hated that drill. It's all right. Well, here comes
he's usually clean, right?
Here's my daily headache, right, from having to pull to block the mic.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, that's great.
Never do nothing.
Yeah, it's I was injured once. It's hard to find a specific story like Shaq. I was also a lot of scraps. Right. It's kind of a haze. I know I don't maybe not seem like it.
We watched you. It's okay. The camera was rolling, sir.
Yeah, when I was at the Saints, the trainers started calling me Muhammad Ali, and I was like, maybe I should re-examine myself. Where does all this coming from?
Reassess things here.
I've got one for you here, Joey, that doesn't involve headaches or forgetting anything. Like, we had a guy come to town by the name of Ryan Switzer. I remember him the first time we
never heard of him.
Yeah, the first time I went into spring practice with him, like I was never in the on like the front line of punt. I was a shield guy in the punt.
Right.
And just running to me, we had a little violence. We jogged the field. The people that were running down the field, I never want to be one of them because
they're insane.
They're insane. Yeah. And some people say, like the scariest place to be in a football game is like getting blindsided or whatever, this position. I hated being in open field because being in open field is where you can get embarrassed.
You're naked, bro. You're butt naked. That's very vulnerable. You're right.
And so I'm at guard on punt. We punt the ball. I the best I had ever done at getting off of a block and getting down the field. I'm looking. I'm like, I'm the first guy down the field. Like, this is great. This is going to look really good on film. And I look up, and 3's back there. I'm like, I don't want to be running down the field alone against him. And so I just remember like slowing down to break down. I'm like, just come to balance. Drag, like hold on to him and just wait for everybody to get there. And I come to balance, and the next thing I knew, like the band's playing. Like we've got how do you get in the end zone already? And so Joey, after that, I ended up backing the shield on punt.
Yes. It's funny. You were doing the right things mentally. Like, all right, I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to break down. And as you're thinking about this, he's 50 yards upfield.
Yeah. He did no thinking. He just went and scored.
So we're getting some good questions in here that I want to hit you guys with in the next segment. Before we move there, I want to ask Landon. I want to ask you this because I think it's very unique to your position. This team lost some guys in the offseason on the offensive line, and when you've got a prize pony back there like Drake May, who's a known commodity. You had that. You had a known commodity coming in to your senior season at quarterback, and you guys knew, all right, we've got to find some gel. We've got to find some common ground. We've got to get our ish together if we want this offense to click. What do those conversations sound like when think about it? Because now you've got a guy or two that might be a transfer in. You've got a guy that's been on the 2 deep and hasn't had first team reps. What do those conversations sound like?
All right, so this might not be like the most popular thing or like what you'd expect, but the guy not overthinking the conversation is the conversation, and this it might be more personal to me and just how I operated, but like whether it's a pony or a mule back there, like you still got a job to do, and like you strip away all that veneer, it's like that's my quarterback. Like that's what if those conversations don't sound like that, then I'm worried.
Right.
Like,
so it doesn't matter if he's good or bad. You've still got that's your job.
I don't care if it's Drake May or like me back there. Like that's my quarterback. And like, all right. Those conversations are like building those relationships. And like learning to like lean on each other. Spending time together. For me, the focus is less on the like how important things are and like how important just my job is and like where I fit.
So it's taking it on yourself and recognizing your own culpability and obligation.
Yeah, and just removing like the trappings of like, I've got maybe one of the best quarterbacks in U.S. history behind me, or like
it could be literally it could be a trash can back there with the UNC jersey on. Your job is to block for that trash can.
Period.
All right,
yeah,
that's fair. And again, I think that makes it easy for folks to understand, at least small brains like myself. All right, let's take a break. We'll get right back. We'll do the IC takeover segment, which, guys, you're gonna love this, where people ask us questions. And today it's going to be y'all get to answer.
Exciting.
So I'll try to field some good ones. We've got some good ones here in the chat. We've got some on the message boards. And if folks listening on Twitter want to hit us up, feel free at Joey_Powell at Inside Carolina, either one. We'll make sure we hit those. Take a break. Be right back. IC Takeover segment brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt. And remember, best question gets a $50 gift card to Johnny T-Shirt right there on Franklin Street. Get yourself some swag for the springtime. If you need some new shorts to go over your newly acquired brace, Johnny T. Not that anybody here would fall in that category, but Johnny T-Shirt could probably accommodate.
I get stronger every day.
We'll be right back on Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Anthony Elvey, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live. Go ahead. Start your healthy day off at First Watch, the Daytime Cafe, with one of the 3 specials and a brand new beverage from the Juice Bar, Tangerine Dream, with tangerine, pineapple, organic ginger, and cane sugar. It joins Kale Tonic, Purple Haze, and Morning Meditation as the ever-popular regulars on the Juice Bar menu. Begin your breakfast or lunch with a tasty choice at First Watch, the Daytime Cafe, on the corner of East 54 in Chapel Hill.
Michael Berard, Senior Vice President Investments with the Founders Group at Stifel, works with a select group of high net worth individuals and institutions to develop and implement investment plans tailored to their specific objectives and risk tolerances. If you are interested in highly personalized, well-researched guidance and outstanding personal service, you can contact Michael at 984-364-2002. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Not every road is worthy of a postcard, but don't tell that to the new Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires. Where you see 8 hours of road trip torment with stop-and-go traffic, the Michelin Cross Climate 2 with a 60,000-mile warranty sees a sun-filled, family-safe drive. The Michelin Cross Climate 2 tire is safer for longer than leading competitors. Discover more at MichelinMan.com.
Shop for Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires at ChapelHillTire.com or visit any of their 9 area locations. And remember, drive happy, Chapel Hill.
Safe refers to wet braking when tires are new and worn to 330 seconds. All tires eventually wear out and should be replaced.
97.9 The Hill is proud to launch a new exclusive radio presentation, The Buzz at Blue Hill, in partnership with Trinsic Residential Group. Here is Ryan Stewart, Managing Director, with more.
Hi, I'm Ryan Stewart of Trinsic Residential Group. With numerous projects in and around Chapel Hill, I'm especially excited about one of our upcoming projects, Aura Blue Hill, near the new Elliott Road extension. The Blue Hill district, between Whole Foods and Food Lion, is undergoing renewal and transformation. What is emerging is a blend of pleasant walking experiences, a mix of commercial uses, upper story residences, bike paths, and sidewalk cafes. Trinsic is proud to sponsor an exclusive interview series on 97.9 The Hill, The Buzz at Blue Hill. Each month you will hear from residents and business people who live, work, and play in Chapel Hill's most dynamic and developing neighborhood. So tune in the second Wednesday of each month at 7:30 a.m. for The Buzz at Blue Hill, presented by Trinsic Residential Group. Find out more about Blue Hill.
Learn more about The Buzz at Blue Hill on chapelboro.com.
Did you know the Casual Pint has a delicious pub food menu paired with local beer? Come see why everyone raves about the best brats in town. Their loaded Sidewinder fries with toppings of your choice are everyone's favorite. Which one will you choose? Their crispy flatbreads will make your mouth water, and oh, the wings! Starting your meal with a large pretzel with beer cheese and ending with a Nightingale ice cream sandwich will surely make your night. All at the Casual Pint, 201 South Elliott Road, Chapel Hill.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Hey, AJ, I don't know what in the sweet blue Huey Lewis hell you did with the butt music this week. I did not expect to hear Hip to Be Square as a... Yeah, you're welcome. All right. I'm not mad about it. I just didn't expect it.
I'm also not turning it down. This one's playing out. Just so you know. Yeah.
You know what a Casbah is? As in rock the Casbah? Yeah, see? I know that reference, but I think I only know that reference because what's that sketch? The Hadaway, Baby Don't Hurt Me with Will Ferrell. Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure the Casbah was supposed to be a place.
Roxbury Guys.
It was like the name of a bar or something.
That's like literally the only way I know about it. If you would have actually known what it was, you were going to be hip to be square. We would have called you a square. Apparently, I'm not hip, and that's okay. If you don't know what a Casbah is,
that means you're also not square. So win-win.
All right. Hey. So as you guys know, this is the IC Takeover segment where we take questions from you, the listener, the viewer, the people who are consuming our show today. We appreciate you being here. I've got, this is by far the best level of talent we've ever had in the room. Trying not to soil that myself. But Shakeel, Rashad, Landon, Turner joining us. So if you got questions for these guys, drop them in. We'll make sure we get to them. Best question gets $50 of cold, hard cash money to use at our friends from Johnny T-Shirt. If you have not been to Johnny T-Shirt lately, first off, I'm judging you a little bit. Second off, what are you waiting on? I've said it 1,000 times before. If you need UNC gear and Johnny T-Shirt doesn't have it, you don't need it. Shirts, shorts, hats, beanies, Name brand coffee mugs. They've got it. If you want it with a UNC logo on it, Johnny T-shirt is your stop. Inside Carolina premium subscribers know you get an extra 10% off the top if you use the code found on the message boards. Fellas, how you feel about some questions?
Let's get into it.
Excited. First things first. Let me see if I can go back and find this one. Landon, what went into the "I got your back" mantra on that team?
Oh man,
I think Shaq just soiled himself laughing. But
here's the thing: for one, thank you, because I'm gonna get like 4 or 5 texts out of that at least. So thank you. Great
so they don't care how your knees do it. They just want to comment about this.
Yeah, my knee's fine. Like I said, I'm getting stronger by the day. I'll be out here deadlifting with Shaq again in no time.
Absolutely.
Literally, when I, on the way to the hospital, I was like, we were supposed to work out the next morning. I was like, dang, can't deadlift with Shaq tomorrow. Anyway,
that's the first time anybody's actually been mad about not being able to deadlift.
I'm telling you. Well, we've been talking about it for a while. I was like, let's get back into it. We haven't done it. It was exciting.
It was all a ploy to get out of leg day.
Yeah, whatever.
This entire break.
So you're telling me you sabotaged his knee injury so that you wouldn't have to deadlift?
No, I think he
that's what I heard,
sabotaged
and I'm going to send him my medical bill.
All right.
He said he was good for it.
Fair enough. All right. Anyway, go ahead, please. Your "I got your back" mantra.
So that's funny because nothing went into it.
Somebody put a mic in front of you and said, "Hey, make a mantra."
No, man, no. So we were at it was Georgia Tech. It was a Georgia Tech game. We had dropped the game against South Carolina. We all felt we shouldn't have. We were 2 weeks later. I think it was 2 weeks later. We're back in Atlanta, and it's not going well.
You were down big. It was like
21-0 at one
point.
Yeah, we were down big, right? And but we were all still we went in the locker room, and it didn't devolve into any type of I can't remember exactly what it said, but I remember Jeff and Shaq coming and said you got us. We got you, right? And that if anything went into it, that little exchange probably went into it. But when we got back out there, I was I looked at Buck. I remember I was looking at Buck, and I just asked him, "You got my back?" And then I just said it again, and then again. So and then we just kept saying it, and it was all right, well now.
So our listeners are hoping for this prophetic, really deep, philosophic from the ethos of my life story, and actually just came from you guys talking in the locker room of a bad game.
It came from necessity.
That's simple, man.
It was pure. In fact, I think it's even more pure. It was just a pure of the moment thing that I got no shirts or royalties out of, but that's okay.
They're still playing it at the stadium.
So hit me up. They know where they can find me. I might talk to Bubba. We'll see. But
there you go.
It was a really cool thing, and part of it, I think, if we want to peel back and just dig in a little bit. I think a lot of it stemmed from the kind of attitude we had going into that season. That was the most. I loved everyone I've ever played with. I loved all the teams, even the 2014 team that I played with at UNC because we chose to be there. But that was probably the most player driven. We forget everything else. Yeah. We're going to do it. We're going to handle our own jobs and do everything for the guy next to me, period.
It showed, man. Yeah. I mean, and again, you talk about authenticity. That's not the type of thing that can be faked. You can't manufacture that. And I think it does show up at the end of the day. And you guys saw, the results that you guys had on the field. Next question. And I love this. This is from Sean Crowley. Sean is absolutely as loyal as of a listener and a viewer of anybody I can think of. I mean, literally, kind of is Sean Crowley going to listen to the show today? Well, do bears poop in the woods? It's the same type of deal. Sean says, ask the fellas, do you think these guys, meaning this team, need a Junction Boys type camp? Obviously, it wouldn't be, but got to go earn it type camp, winner's mentality all day long. Thank you. And I will say, I think some of that is overblown, but there's also, and again, you guys from the hand in the dirt experience, I want you to speak to that because I think there is some of that might be a little needed.
We're going to be a dichotomy in this, I think.
Really? Did you just call Shaq a defensive back?
No. No, me and Shaq could traditionally have had different when it comes to camp and approaches.
Okay.
Like that. Please drink water, first of all.
That's the beautiful part about Junction Boys. Like, these guys are literally almost dying because of stupidity, not because of energy.
Please hydrate yourself.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said to like pinning your ears back. And like, as much as I did not like training camp, I don't think anybody likes it. It always starts out fun, for sure. It is always fun. You're back in football, and then the end of the first night comes, and you're like, oh wait, I got 27 more of these. I immediately regret my decision. But there's something to be said that it's like, you know, you got wall to wall ball as a coach used to put all the time, and you can really just maybe more immersive. Like nobody needs to like have any like Herculean Hollywood.
Well, are two-a-days overrated, or do you feel like two-a-days have value?
I think they're overrated.
See, I think that from the standpoint of like there's a point of like diminishing returns where like you're doing way too much, but at the same time, that's physically, I think mentally, there is no point when it comes to that. Like, you're talking to the guy that walks around in a shirt and hoodie that say "Make football violent again." I would say, yeah, like let's get scrappy, let's get
all
dirty.
Of the concussions.
Yeah, all of it. You know, it's
there it is.
but no,
this is why I asked you these questions, because I want the real Shaq to come out. Go ahead.
But I say all that to say, like, the reason that I think a hard like winter conditioning and even harder training, all those things are important is because when you get to the season, everything's easy. Like, you don't want any point in a game. You don't want to ever be more tired in a game in the fall or more sore in a game in the fall than you have been in the past. Like, if you can say on day 19 of training camp, both shoulders were hurting. Like, my ankle was rolled, but I still went out and I executed when we called this play. I can remember, like, in week 13 of a season when you're playing, you know, for a chance to go to an ACC championship. You're playing in an ACC championship. You're banged up. You're tired. You know, like, all this stuff is wrong. You're just like, wait a minute. I did this in August when it was 120 degrees, 120 degrees. Like, then it's easy. Like, then you're able to just have fun. And when the season is the first time you're put in that position, it's a coin flip. Like, you don't know, you know? And so, yeah, I'm all for make camp harder.
I agree with those.
The logic
those
is there.
points.
I can't take that from you.
Like, it is like, that's the time to work. Like, that's the cornerstone of your season. You like lay the foundation and set the tone for yourselves. Like, I'm all for like getting after it, and I'm all for, you know, even inside. All right, yeah, even inside. Okay, it just like the two days, the diminishing returns. Like, I don't mind at all. Like if the second practice is like you're walking through, like, mental reps is a real thing, right? You do it 10,000 times, make it become muscle memory, and that's the time to do it. You know, you don't have class yet or anything. Like, I'm 1,000% on board. Maybe not the whole hard-out train, you know, because you got to like actually make it to the season. But I do I love the spirit, and I'm all for like getting after.
I'm going to give you guys both some cover here.
Yeah.
It's up to the staff to make both of those things possible.
True.
Yeah.
That's where if you've got a staff that knows what they're doing, then two-a-days are at a place where you're getting that mental edge, but you're not getting, you know, put on the shelf and put in the ice tub for 2 weeks because of it, right? And that's why all these coaches get paid millions of dollars, because they're supposed to be able to pull this kind of stuff off. Yeah. For Shaq. Those is a variation Woods type loyal listeners, and we appreciate him. Shaq, how hard is it to develop a pass rush on a defense that has struggled with it so much the past couple of seasons? I think what he's asking is fix the defense and then go tell them how to fix it, because that's but I get his question. I think the spirit of it is valid.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that, you know, a great pure pass rusher goes so high in the NFL draft. Like, those people are hard to come by. When there's a guy that's 6'7" with with arms the length of a sedan who's at like left tackle, and you have to like try to pass rush him. There's only so many people in the world that can do that, and that's why those guys get paid a lot of money to do it. So there's two ways to get after a passer. I think it's with a player like that, and hopefully we've been able to develop some of those. But then it's also with pressures, and so I think that's the way that you can manufacture some pressure on the quarterback is by, I don't know, really getting a feel for blocking the blocking schemes you're going against, and like pressuring and having some option pressures where, hey, if they do this, then we do that. If they do that, then we do this. And so I'm sure they're in the staff meeting room trying to draw plays like, how do we get pressure on the quarterback? Because I don't care what DB is over there. Like, you can't cover somebody for 5 seconds. And so, yeah, like they're trying to draw that up. And I really think there's two ways. It's with somebody who's a pure pass rusher who you've developed to that point, or with those pressures. And I'm sure both are happening right now. And me being the eternal optimist I expect to see 4 sacks in week 1.
Yeah,
like I think
by 40.
Heels by 40.
Yeah, heels by 40.
38 and a
trademark. Somebody actually said that earlier. That should be a shirt. Yeah, hashtag heels by 40. Somebody said that on Twitter earlier when they found out you were co-hosting the show. Yeah, heels by 40. So all right, let me take that a little bit of a step further. I think Jason Staples is one of our analysts for Inside Carolina, and he has said he felt like maybe some of what UNC was struggling with last year was the fact that practice did not have the edge that maybe they needed. And, physicality kind of works in there, but there's also a mental standpoint there. What do y'all say to that? Landon, I'll ask you first. I mean, I think your point a second ago is valid. Like, you don't want your guys beat up during the week and expecting to play a game on Saturday. But also, I think there's a split difference with how can you keep guys sharp and expect them to be violent on Saturday when they're kind of leashed, for lack of a better term, during the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line, and there may be even a sliding scale of like, I use professionalism for lack of a better way to put it, but like guys who like know like when it is like when they have like less time, like you can dial back when a guy's like, oh, it's time to go, versus like I'm good. Some guys just need to like always be cracked up.
You looking at me?
I love that he literally pointed at you when he said that.
Yeah, some guys always got to be cranked up. And as far as like practice goes, like we're not there. I didn't get a chance to get to main practices myself, so like I don't know. It's like I always like to be cautious speaking on practice because I don't know what they're doing, and I've got enough faith in our staff and everything and just like the caliber that we're playing at, that it's there. So I don't know if you have any.
Shaq, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I'll also say, Landon, like we're not there, right? So we can't talk about it. But I did see and hear and have seen it over and over again, like people saying, and I think we've heard it out of the staff. Maybe I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I feel like I've heard from a lot of different angles that like practice just needed to take a step forward. And I think that what's really interesting is like you do want to take care of your guys in practice. And I was going to say one of the biggest differences I noticed when I left college and went to Houston is the speed people can practice at and still not have anyone on the ground. Like it felt like in college you had to choose between practicing full speed or
there was an
keeping guys off the ground.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to go full speed, fine. They got to put on knee pads. We're tackling today.
Yeah.
You go to the NFL and guys will be in shorts, t-shirts, flying around, full speed, 100-mile-an-hour practices, and nobody's on the ground. Nobody's hurting anybody. And so maybe like bringing in more NFL backgrounds will help us find a way to that, because it's really weird. Like people in college are athletic enough to stay up off the ground.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're forced to at the college level because I don't know. Maybe
that's an interesting point. Like I think that part of it is like when you're dealing with college is like you got a bunch of like 17, 18-year-olds coming in. They don't even have like in the NFL, they had like the benefit of like guys have been playing for 4 years. And on top of that, the most athletic guys are the ones that like came through.
And there's a paycheck attached.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of in the paycheck it was attached, which is what I was going to get to too, is like, maybe like with more like opportunities for players, they like kind of kickstart that acceleration. The guys will stay up more, because that really is like that's part of why it's such a fine line.
Yeah.
Collegiately, because like like Shaq said, it's either like when it's on, it's like on, and it is like dangerous.
Yeah.
When it's off, it's off. Whereas in the NFL, it's like actually, I haven't thought about it too much before, but you're right. It's like something you have to adjust to, because if you're acting recklessly, like you're gonna hear about it. It's like, hey, like learn how to go hard without going down.
Don't ruin our investments.
Yeah, exactly.
You are an investment.
Including
The guy
yourself.
next to you is an investment. Yeah.
Like guys get cut in the NFL for getting too close to a quarterback.
For not knowing how to practice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You breathe on them, you're gone.
Yeah. You can be replaced by a guy that is less talented but will not injure our $8 million a game player.
Exactly.
All right, love that. Another question. This is really fun. I like this. This is from Paul H. Not sure about Paul H's credentials, but I love his question. Landon and Shaq, most challenging player you ever played against? All right, present company excluded. All right, so I'm going to not allow you guys to duck out on this and answer the other guys sitting next to you. But Landon, I'll go to you first. Toughest player you ever played against?
Aaron Donald. I mean,
real talk. We asked him this when he was on the show at the beginning of football season, and it was like we couldn't even get the question out when I was like 99. I'm like, it was a freak.
It was so annoying.
Like that's annoying as a 300
it's
pound
so
fat Shaq
frustrating.
can
Like,
be.
you know, it's the funniest thing about it. Like, I mean, yeah, he's definitely gotten like bigger and like more ripped in his like professional career.
Sure,
but like even like in college, you know, it's like it's just some dude's like, who is it? Like, who is this guy? And you like pull up to the game, and you know, I've never like met him or talked to him, so like I don't care. You can get mad, whatever. He's like 6'1". He looks like he's like 6'1", 6'2". The most unassuming. Yeah, I'm like, wait, this is their 3.
This is the guy.
Yeah. I was like, this is the guy. And then he was so fast, and I was like, oh. And I was watching film, and I was like, okay, I got it. I see it.
Yeah.
And I was like playing, and I realized like, okay, you know, I was a bigger guy, and like I'm more than capable enough. Conditioning was always peak. It was important to me. Not necessarily the quickest, and I'll own that. All right, but I knew how to play with that, and I'll try to funnel people like into like my reach. And I tried to do that with him. And one, he danced around me a couple of times. I will, for the first time, admit that in Jack's presence a little bit.
Thank you.
But when I did kind of get that going, all of a sudden, he's like going tit for tat with me strength wise, and I was like, "How dare you? How dare you? This is unfair, sir."
How dare Aaron Donald go tit for tat and strength with me?
Like,
How
sir,
dare he?
he was so strong. It was unbelievable. It's like
Pennsylvania's finest.
He was like impossible to double team. It got to the point where it's like we kind of just, if I like, in, you know, maybe John Heck can set the story straight, but I was just kind of point, like, I'm kind of just gonna let the linebacker be there. Like, we gotta. I'm just gonna stay here.
We're handing him off.
I'm just gonna stay. I'm just gonna stay in this
Look at
double
the second
team.
level.
I'm just gonna stay in this double team because like we got a better shot with that guy,
right?
Than letting
the head of steam. I got a better shot with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's like professional, college wise. Aaron Donald, like hands down.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like honorable mentions for sure. Cam Jordan, I think is one of the, like best defensive ends.
Speaking of practice, I mean you saw that dude every day in practice, and he knew how to practice and was still an All-Pro.
Oh yeah, I know because I was practice squad.
Like, I mean, I didn't even get that close to this.
It was great. Like it was a great experience, but you know, he literally. That was like the only reason I'm bringing it up is I'm remembering how I was like similarly annoyed because this guy was so fast and just as strong, and then on top of that, as big as I was, and I was like, all right, man.
And also, like 12 years into his career,
yeah.
Just, you know, played forever.
Like as if he ran like a rookie. It was
yeah.
It's like you gotta give us something. Give us some weakness.
Where is the edge, please?
Yeah.
All right, Shaq, your turn, man. And you can't say Aaron Donald.
For sure.
That would have been weird too, by the way, since he's a defensive player.
Definitely. I took the field with a lot of great guys that like I'd put up in this category, but there's only one that I was like one-on-one with all day that I look back on and still have nightmares about, and it was Tariq Cohen at A&T senior year. Yeah, Tariq Cohen.
I mean, the NFL found him, didn't they?
Yes.
I mean, it was a little water bug.
And what was scary about him is he was everything that I'm terrified of on a football field. Like I told the Ryan Switzer story. I have never been nervous about getting run over. Like that's fine. Like run into me. I welcome that. What's scary is when you're an open field and the guy just makes you look stupid. Like you take 2 steps this way and he's running that way.
Oh, you don't want to be the guy whose laundry is just in the middle of midfield on the hash.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
And so that game, A&T, I think, was the first team that year who figured out and really had us dialed up as far as like our coverage and how we were covering things. So we were going and playing everything one way out of a specific formation, and they got it figured out. And so about halfway through the second quarter, I look at Jeff and I'm like, dude, I think they know. I think they know that if they put, these receivers over here, this receiver over here, and they set Cohen over right here, and it's a very specific formation. But I think they know if they do that.
Found out.
Yeah, they know that if they do that, it's me and him one-on-one, and that's a matchup he wins 12 times out of 10. And so they do.
I love the self-awareness, by the way.
They do it like
we're all growing.
Right. Oh no, you'll see the self-awareness came in on that day, and I remember I came to the sideline. I'm talking to the coaches, and they're like, "What are you guys seeing out there?" And we're still playing well. We're winning the game. Like, "What are you guys seeing out there?" And I'm like, "We're going to win this football game. Like, I'm not worried about that at all. But if you want to turn on the film tomorrow and see Tariq go for 600 yards, we'll keep doing what we're doing." And so we actually installed a new coverage on the sideline in that game. Like, we installed a new coverage on the sideline in that game.
This is the real life equivalent of Rev looking at this. I can't make that pitch, coach.
That's me.
I've never heard a real life story like that, but I love the self-awareness, but also love the fact you recognize, like, all right, this is my weakness, and they have totally dialed it on.
Like, that's the one thing going into the game. I was like, as long as they don't figure this out, I'm good. And it happened.
What point in the game was that?
About middle of the second quarter. Middle of the second quarter.
You get to the break to be able to chance to adjust.
No, we have to do this right now. This has to happen right now.
Oh man. By the way, guys are absolutely just. I got laughing tears flowing in the chat now from you guys for sharing these. Love this. This is going to make for probably a good podcast later. We'll try to put this out. Thank y'all for being vulnerable and sharing that. That's good stuff. That's the type of things that I love. Questions like that because one, you guys are willing to answer. Guys, like I was at that A&T game. They were scoring for sure in the first half. So yes, they remember your story vividly, Shaq. All right, let's take a break. We'll catch our breath and come back to the last segment. Appreciate Shakeel, Rashad, Landon Turner being here. I'm Joey Powell, Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
Yo, this is Denora Cersei, Carolina alum, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live. Let's go, baby.
I'm Whitney with your pet tip of the month from Paws Forever. Consider feeding your pet from a food dispensing toy rather than a bowl. This gives them a chance to use their innate animal skills. It's also a great workout for their brain. Did you know that Paws Forever offers a variety of interactive dog training classes and private lessons for you and your pup using positive training methods? Find out more and sign up at pawsforever.org/train. That's pawsforever.org/train.
If you care about all things local, check out Chatham County Line, a community newspaper serving Chatham County and Southern Orange for over 22 years. Our mission is to inform our community by providing a forum where all voices are heard. We seek all views and ideas about our community, and we report on important matters and issues that we face in the community at large. You can find us online at chathamcountyline.org.
97.9 The Hill is proud to launch a new exclusive radio presentation, The Buzz at Blue Hill, in partnership with Trinsic Residential Group. Here is Ryan Stewart, Managing Director, with more.
Hi, I'm Ryan Stewart of Trinsic Residential Group. With numerous projects in and around Chapel Hill, I'm especially excited about one of our upcoming projects, Aura Blue Hill, near the new Elliott Road extension. The Blue Hill district, between Whole Foods and Food Lion, is undergoing renewal and transformation. What is emerging is a blend of pleasant walking experiences, a mix of commercial uses, upper story residences, bike paths, and sidewalk cafes. Trinsic is proud to sponsor an exclusive interview series on 97.9 The Hill, The Buzz at Blue Hill. Each month you will hear from residents and business people who live, work, and play in Chapel Hill's most dynamic and developing neighborhood. So tune in the second Wednesday of each month at 7:30 a.m. for The Buzz at Blue Hill, presented by Trinsic Residential Group. Find out more about Blue Hill.
Learn more about The Buzz at Blue Hill on chapelboro.com.
Many of life's best moments happen around the table. From casual to upscale, there's something for every foodie at Alamance County restaurants. Enjoy a pasta dish like lobster ravioli at Junction on 70 in Mebane, or treat your taste buds to a specialty pizza at Pandora's Pies in Elon. Extend your weekend with French toast casserole at the Eddie Pub in Saxapahaw. The towns and villages of Alamance County are filled with tasty surprises. Which ones do you come back for? Go to visitalamance.com.
Hello, Tar Heels. This is Roy Williams.
Although we are no longer living in town, when Wanda and I come back, we always stay at the new Sheraton Chapel Hill. The Atma Hotel Group has done wonders with the Sheraton's complete and comfortable transformation and amenities, from convenient parking to very nice guest rooms and the Blue Corners Bistro that serves breakfast and dinner every day. We hope to see you there on one of those special Carolina weekends. And as always, let's go Heels.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Little nooch on Saturday morning. Thank you, AJ. My old man used to call this that heroin music.
I was going to say this was a vibe, and then
It's a vibe, just not one you want to have, apparently.
Not the right vibe.
According to old man Powell.
Yeah, some things can be true, guys. Yeah. Hey, shout out to Paul H. I'll let him know in the chat, but Paul H is our winner of the Johnny T-shirt best question. Okay, because I think we all agree it was good to get in the Wayback Machine there and tell some stories. At least I enjoyed hearing you guys, because I think it was quite funny too. Also, hear Shaq recanting stories of how he was completely and utterly mentally humiliated at the hands of Terry Cohen.
Also honorable mention to Rob Whitley for saying that he was at that A&T game and backing up Shaq and his thing of like, yeah, no, this is not working. Yeah,
I'm glad that you enjoyed that as well. I got my steps in that day.
Get my stem goal for sure. So we want to say big shout out to Paul for the question. Shout out to Johnny T-shirt for sponsoring. And hey, maybe Johnny T-shirt can come up with a Landon Turner, how dare you, sir, T-shirt. And put a 99 on the back of it. Yeah, how dare you, sir. That's look, we said this during the break. AJ made a point about it. I mean, if your worst memory begins with a guy that is a multi-time All-Pro and is probably the best three to ever play the position, I don't think you did that bad, sir.
It helps. It helps. Yeah.
It's one of those where you can soothe your pain with the recognition that dude's going to be in a very, very medium-fitting yellow jacket very soon. Boys, we've got a couple more minutes before we get out here today. I do want to make sure we mention the baseball team is, after dropping the game last night to Duke, they are trying to go for the series win today. Game starts at 2. We'll be right here on these airwaves. It'll be on at 2:00 on 97.9 The Hill. You can hear it here. And if you're in town, I know the game's sold out, but there's lacrosse going on today. There's a baseball game. They're wrapping up spring practice now. Nice little Saturday if you want one, you know. I know some of us are waiting for new golf clubs and can't actually get out and enjoy it, but there are things to be done out here, boys. Before we get out of here, I want to ask. I think something gets overlooked a lot of times. You guys have kind of done a good job of giving us that peek into the locker room and peek into the mindset during spring practice. How real is competition between an offense and a defense, especially if you go in knowing one is better than the other? Shaq, I'll let you answer first, since right now everybody feels like the UNC offense is going to be the bell cow because of who's taking snaps, right? So I want to ask you, how real is it? And you can go back to y'all's stories if you need to, but how real is it when one side knows the other side is better? And what does that look like? And I see Landon is posturing quite heavily, so he's waiting on an answer.
Yeah. I think that it's really interesting. I don't know any place that I could point to and say it's just like that, because anytime you walk out to that practice field, you don't really see the offense that much when you get there. Like your one offense and your one defense, where one defense is usually going against two offense and one offense going against two defense. And so it almost feels like you're two different teams for a lot of spring, a lot of camp. But anytime you take the field, like all the competition is gone. And so I say that to say, on the field, you couldn't be closer. Like Landon told the story about being in the locker room, like, hey, you guys got us. And I can tell you all we were thinking that game, because we played poorly in the first half. All we were thinking that game was get the ball back to the offense. We knew they were going to score. Like we knew they were going to score, knew we had to get the ball back to them. But in spring practice, in practice in the fall, like they might as well be another team. Like you're going against each other and you've got the same matchup. It's a guy but you've got the same matchup Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever, like whatever days you're practicing. for months and months and months. And so you start to get chippy. Like, he may get the best of you at the first practice. You get him at the second, third, and fourth. He gets you fifth, sixth, seventh. So it starts to get really, really competitive. You start to get really mad. And both of you were trying to win a starting job, trying to go do something special in the fall. And I think that's why you see some of the scraps, we'll call them, in practice stuff, but it's not personal. It's not a scrap where these guys don't talk to each other for weeks afterwards. It's one where they're at dinner together later on. And it's super, super competitive in practice. But the second you walk off the field, it's your brother's all over.
1 minute for rebuttal, Mr. Turner. Well, I don't have a rebuttal, really. I do agree. The only thing I would add to it is, like, I think to Shaq's point, like you're focused on your own stuff so much, and like most of the practices you're separated, like working on drills, and when you come to, I think like the spring game can get a little, because there is no opponent other than like the defense or the offense, depending on where you're at. I think there's a peak of competition in training camp, in that like that nebulous where before it like shifts to the first opponent, and you're still like establishing like the team, so to speak. There's a decent amount of competition because that's what's in front of you. So no rebuttal. I just wanted to expand on that.
I think that works. Well, guys, I want to say, I hope you've enjoyed your time today. We will see if if we decide to let Tommy come back, we will discuss that amongst the management and decide whether you guys are going to be taking the spots, or I don't know, maybe Landon takes my spot and Shaq takes Tommy's. Who knows? But either way, I'm thankful for you guys for making time and for your willingness to open up with us. Our listening audience has loved it, just based on the feedback we've gotten so far. But as we've talked about earlier today, we talked about basketball. If you're paying attention to the transfer portal, guys coming, guys going. There will be more guys coming soon, so pay attention to that. We'll have that for you on Inside Carolina. Make sure you're subscribed. If you want to be that premium subscriber, you can get an entire month for just $1 right now, I think. It's not going to get any cheaper than that. And if you want it less than $1, then, man, you're cheap. But make sure you subscribe. Get that premium subscription. You'll get all the news when it comes out. We'll cover it with all our podcasts. I want to plug my guys, Sharon McMillan and Sean Moran, will join me tomorrow night on the Coast to Coast. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Make sure you get that podcast in your feed. But we'll drop that tomorrow night and have all the basketball news you can stand. Then, as Tommy said earlier, they'll have all kinds of reports and comments from the players and the coaching staff today after the open spring practice. But for AJ, running the board, thank you. Shaq, filling in admirably, thank you, sir. Landon Turner, roll up in here on one wheel and doing a bang-up job. I'm Joey Powell. This has been Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
Hey, Jack, I have a heartwarming story for you.
Hey, Lee, Olmas Jewelers is in the business of forming hearts, so lay it on me.
A lady came to us with a broken wedding band. She had taken it to a big box store, and they told her they would have to replace it. Repair was out of the question.
Wedding bands are sentimental pieces for so many people.
Exactly. That is why I told her to bring it in and see about a repair. And guess what?
We fixed it.
We did. And what a happy client she is.
Olmas Jewelers in Eastgate Crossing is the place for jewelry repair in Chapel Hill. OlmasJewelers.com.
The Casual Pint is your place for craft beer. Choose among 35 rotating taps. With a wide variety of styles, there's something for everyone. What's your favorite style? Don't quite know? Sample before you select your pint or try a flight today. Wanting to take beer to go? Choose from 200 plus beers in their cooler to create your mix of six, or fill a crowler or growler from the tap wall. All at the Casual Pint, 201 South Elliott Road, Chapel Hill.
Emerge Pediatric Therapy wants to take a minute for moms and dads. At Emerge Pediatric Therapy, we are committed to supporting quality sleep, eating, and breathing. Here's Executive Director Brittany Winslow with more.
Did you know that your child's attention, regulation, wellness, and speech development can all be impacted by the muscles of the mouth? Orofacial myofunctional therapy could be the key to some of your unanswered questions. At Emerge Pediatric Therapy, our speech therapists can support your child with tongue ties,